everybody, welcome back to Tim Travels. It's Terry, your host, with my sidekick Beatrice. We're in Plymouth, Indiana today at the Loves. Drove over from Iowa. Man, I hate the roads in Indiana. Like everywhere I went, especially across I-80, south of Chicago, like lanes were shut down. I just hate Indiana roads, Indiana. So Plymouth, Indiana, it has a very inauspicious history with a couple of notable exceptions. The town is really noted for being like the beginning of the Potawatomi Trail of Death. So the Potawatomi Indians that were forced out of this area when settlers came in the early 1830s. The Potawatomis were forced to relocate to Kansas. So it's known for that. It's also known for being kind of a racist place even during the Civil War, notwithstanding that lots of people from Indiana died for the Union. There was a lot of editorializing about the Union cause, and then after the war, and this lasted essentially 100 years, Plymouth, Indiana was called a sundown town, meaning that basically if you were black or non-white, you weren't allowed to be in Plymouth after dark. There were hundreds of those places around the country, although it's noteworthy that there was one here. Although I've seen pictures of a lynching that happened down the road in Marion, Indiana back in the 1920s, so it's not really surprising. I think the only thing I like about Indiana is, well, there are a few things. David Letterman's from Indiana. I like him. I liked Larry Bird when he was playing basketball. He's from Indiana. And probably the thing I like the most about Indiana is that Indiana was home to the 19th Indiana Volunteer Infantry Regiment. And the 19th Indiana fought at Gettysburg, and it was part of the famous Union Brigade, which was the 1st Brigade of the 1st Division of the 1st Corps of the Union Army. And the Union Brigade, so made up of soldiers from Indiana, and by the way, the 19th, those soldiers all came from Indianapolis. They didn't come from this part of the state at all. But the Indianans, Michiganders, and Wisconsinites, I think that's what they are, made up the Union Brigade. There were five regiments in the brigade. 3 from Wisconsin, 1 from Indiana, 1 from Michigan. And on the first day of Gettysburg, the Union Brigade by itself basically stopped the Army of Northern Virginia west of Gettysburg and along the Chambersburg Pike and on McPherson's Ridge, and acquitted itself with. It was already well known to be a very, very tough group of guys, and the Confederates certainly knew them. And when they showed up along the Chambersburg Pike and they ran into those black hats, because the brigade still wore the old style Hardee Army hat instead of the kepi that you're probably more familiar with. They found out the hard way that the Union forces under General Reynolds were not going to give up territory easily. Of course, Reynolds was killed, pretty much at the start of the battle. And I should say, to give credit where credit is due, John Buford's cavalry brigade did hold up the Confederates while dismounted before the first corps could come up. But anyway, that's a little bit about the the Iron Brigade and the people from Indiana that fought in it. So real quick today, I wanted to just, I kind of made up a little list of, if there's 13 items, I might think of one while I'm doing this. And these are just things that I've learned or observed, kind of, you know, little things that I think make somebody a better truck driver and maybe just make their job a little bit easier. So these are some pointers I have. So if you're a new driver or newish, or you're thinking about coming to trucking, these are some things that have helped me. Some are actually related to the law. Others are just like good business practices, if you will. And they're in no particular order, but so the first one is, in urban areas, stay out of the far right lane on interstates or multi-lane highways. And the reason I say that is this: in urban areas, there are a lot of people getting on and off the roads. And instead of you having to change lanes all the time because you were taught, like in your CDL school, to always stay to the right, just stay, if there are 3 lanes, stay in the middle lane. If there are 4 lanes, stay in the second one from the right. And, you know, that's part of it, people coming on and off the highway. The other thing is, in urban areas, especially in like Atlanta, I don't know what the hell they're thinking, but they constantly add a lane and then it disappears at the next exit. Add a lane and then it disappears. So you have this constant movement back and forth needlessly. So don't get in that far right lane unless you're gonna get off, because you're gonna encounter a lot more traffic. Even if everybody's going faster than you, even if they're passing you on the right, don't get in that right-hand lane. Also, you know, that's the lane right next to where people break down. It cuts way down on you having to move laterally. In other words, changing lanes in really busy areas where things are happening fast. Just stay out of that right-hand lane. If you have fog lights on your truck, and all the trucks at Prime have fog lights, only use them during fog. Now, why do I say that? Well, some people think it's cool to have 4 lights in the front while they're just driving down the road on any given night. But if you use those fog lights all the time like you use your regular headlights, if something ever happens to even one of your headlights, you don't have, and let's say the fog lights are burned out or worn out, you don't have a set of backups. And here's the thing: if you're going down the road with only one headlight, especially because now look, if you don't have fog lights, then you just got to deal with it, right? But I think of fog, and by the way, I do use them in the fog, but I think of them as an emergency set of headlights, because then if one of my main lights goes out, I am not subject to be pulled over for not having 2 lights if I illuminate my fog lights, okay? Obviously, you want to get it fixed as soon as you can, because then if you lose another light, you're kind of up the creek without a paddle. But use your fog lights for what they're intended, not to be cool, okay? Flashers. Use your flashers when appropriate. So if you're under 40 miles an hour at any point, you know, unless it's a 40 mile an hour zone or something like that, obviously, you know, but if you're on a highway, you're under 40, use your flashers. If you're on the shoulder for any reason, like you're stopped on the shoulder, use your flashers. When you're backing, use your flashers. Here's when you don't use your flashers. When you're in a torrential rainstorm or you're in fog and you're in the travel lanes, don't use your flashers, okay? Because that confuses people, because they expect that vehicles that'll have their flash, and I know everybody does it, but and in fact, the reason I kind of came to this conclusion about what I'm saying is, I was out in New Mexico, or either on the 10 in New Mexico or on the 10 in Arizona, where they have sandstorms, and they even say, don't use your flashers if you're in the travel lanes, because it confuses people. People think that you're on the shoulder. Okay, so just share that. When you hook up a trailer, so you back under a trailer, you get out, you hook up your air lines, you hook up your 7-pin electrical cable. Get air to the trailer before you go do other things. And here's why. It gives the trailer tires a chance to inflate if for some reason they're low before you want to leave. It gives tires a chance to inflate. It gives the airbags a chance to inflate, because keep in mind, the airbags in the back are going to have an impact on the airbags on the tractor. The other thing it does is so while it's sending air back there, it's powering, or it's sending air to the air slide, because oftentimes you're going to want to move your tandems when you let's say you pick up a trailer that has its tandems back. You're going to want to move the tandems forward. I know I always do. But if you haven't already put air back there, then you got to wait for that process. This just speeds things along. And when you do your walk around and your kind of trailer inspection, you're looking at your lights, because now your lights are hooked up. Oh, and always back under with your 4-ways on too. That way you can check that the lights are blinking and you got everything you're supposed to have. When you do your walk around, if the air is already back to the trailer, if you got an air leak somewhere, on a tire, on an airbag, on an air line, you'll hear it. But if you do your walk around with no air to the trailer until you get ready to leave, then you haven't really done a complete inspection. So send the air back there as soon as you can. This is number 5. Don't slam into loading docks. Why? Well, because you want to be in control. That's the first thing. The second thing is, it actually is not good for you personally. Like it'll jack up your face. It's no different than getting hit from behind. Okay, backing into a building hard is no different than getting hit by a vehicle hard that was going forward. So if you want to keep your neck in alignment, your back in alignment, don't slam into those. Don't slam into buildings, right? You want to kiss it, not bump it. Everybody says bump. Kiss it, okay? There's no reason to slam into a loading dock, especially if there's like a catch back there or something like that. You just want to back in and barely touch it. Then if you want to make sure you're all the way back, then push down. Once you've made contact, then you can push down on the accelerator just a little bit and then pull the brakes. Okay, that makes sure you're nice and tight against the dock. Don't slam into kingpins when you're backing under a trailer. Ideally, and I know that sometimes I know that the apron kind of gets stuck on the fifth wheel. That's why you want to keep grease on it. But I know it does happen. The way you want your trailer to line up is so that you are slightly lifting the trailer in the front and then sliding under to where all you hear is a click. You back under there, click. You should have your window down, by the way. Whenever you're backing, you should have your window down. You especially want to have your window down when you're backing under a trailer or when you're pulling away. And when you're pulling away, pull away slowly. Here's why. You just hauled a load, 1,000 miles, right? Now you picked up this trailer and you backed under it and you cranked up the landing gear, you hooked up your air lines, you did everything, you did your pull test, you looked at your lights, everything seemed fine. But what you may not know, and you might not have any reason to know, is that when you lifted that landing gear, that was going to be the last time that landing gear held up that trailer, okay? Because landing gear can get damaged but not show it until the worst possible time. So here's what happens. You put that landing gear down, right, at the receiver. They're like, yeah, drop your loaded trailer there and go pick up. So you're like, you're in a hurry, you're doing your drop and hook, you want to get onto your next load, right? Crank the landing gear down, right? You disconnect everything, you pull the pin on your fifth wheel. And then you're just like, okay, let me just release my brakes, put it in gear and just take off, right? Okay, that's not the right way to do it. Because if for some reason that landing gear fails, if you've moved away from it slowly, the back of your truck, your frame is going to catch that trailer, right? And prevent it from going all the way down to the ground. And I can tell you from personal experience, when I worked at an LTL carrier, I've seen trailers on the ground. It's a pain in the ass to get them back up and get pallets under them or whatever to hold them up. That's the first thing. That's it. That's just on dry vans. The second thing is, if you pull away fast and that landing gear is not holding the weight of that trailer, the reefer unit itself is going to slam down onto the frame of your tractor. Now, it's probably not going to, it may damage your tractor, but it's surely going to damage the reefer. So now you got a loaded trailer, the front of it's on the ground, and the refrigeration unit for the trailer may not be operable at this point. That's a bad look for whoever you work for, and it's a bad look for you. So don't, just pull away slowly, look in your mirrors, make sure that trailer's standing, okay, that it's not, collapsed. Never ignore a belt squeal. I'm not talking about the alarm that comes on when you don't have your seatbelt on. I'm talking about a squealing belt in your engine. These trucks, these Freightliners, but I know it's the same for everybody. You have two belts, right? You have a main belt and an auxiliary belt. If you hear squealing from your belt, I don't care if when you lift up that hood and you check the belt that there's less than 1 inch of slack in it and the belts look good. If you hear squealing, I virtually guarantee that what is happening is the belt tensioner is not working properly. And it's only a matter of time before that belt tensioner craps the bed. And when it does, it's just going to come apart. And when it comes apart, it's going to catch the belt that it's on. Not both belts, but at least the belt it's on, and it's going to tear it up. And you're going to be fortunate to get to the side of the road before you lose something you really want, like electricity, or you probably wouldn't lose electricity, but steering, power steering, water pump, whatever it is, right? You want to get, if you hear squealing, you have to get it in the shop. They have to change the belts, and they have to really make sure the tensioners are working. And oftentimes that's because the squealing is because the tensioner is about to go. If you're in the right lane, and I realize these are kind of out of order, but if you're in the right lane, keep in mind that oftentimes, like when there's merging traffic, oftentimes it's easier to slow down and just let them get in front of you, or behind you, but in front of you, than it is to move over. And here's why. You have people that want to come into the lane you're in, right? They may end up in front of you. Okay, if you got a car in front of you 30 feet, you don't want to be looking in the mirror trying to figure out if you can get over to the left, right? Focus on being in what's in front of you, okay? And use your brakes. You don't need to take your eyes off what's right in front of your tractor in order to use your Jake brake or your service brakes. So just keep that in mind. Get off the cruise, slow down a little bit. They'll speed up and get in front of you, or they'll figure out that they're not going to beat you and they'll get behind you. But changing lanes is where a lot of accidents on the road happen. Also rear enders. So if you don't take your eyes, if you don't try to change lanes, because then you got to come back, right? You got to make 2 lane changes. What if you just slow down and just let them get away from you, and then get back up to speed? It's a lot less challenging. It's a lot less nerve-wracking for any driver. Turn off your vents in dusty areas or go to recirc. One of the things I hate about driving a truck is everything seems to be dusty all the time. I dust every day. My dash, knobs, buttons, you name it, steering wheel, steering column. I'm always dusting the doors. Like I see dust right here, and it's all I can do not to get a wipe out and clean it up. But what I do is when I see a dust storm of any kind, and it could be like a service road beside the highway that's dirt, like you see in Nebraska or Iowa. It could be in a construction site, there's piles of dust flying up. Whatever it is, all you need to do, just turn your AC off or your heat off for just a second till you get past it, right? Then your vents aren't sucking all that in, okay? Because what's in front of the truck in terms of air, if you leave the ventilation on, it's coming in. If you're in a really dusty, 01 or 90, just put it on recirc if you need the AC because it's really hot out. Just put it on recirc. Now I know you got to roll your windows down when you're backing, but it cuts down on the dust inside the cab, which I think is a good thing. Okay, number 11, goal in unlit areas before backing. If you're in one of those drop yards that has almost no lights or none at all, get out with your headlamp, your flashlight, or whatever before you try to back a trailer in. Even though your flashing lights may be illuminating the trailers on either side. And the reason I say that is because those flashing lights are not going to let you see if there's some big ass potholes in that slot. And the reason those big ass potholes matter is because if you're really tight with the other trailers, and let's face it, oftentimes there might only be like a foot on either side. I've had this happen to me. This is what I'm telling you. You're backing in there and there's some huge hole. Guess what's going to happen, especially with super singles? The tires on that side are going to hit that hole and the trailer's going to tip. Well, if you're only this far away, okay, if you took geometry in high school, right, the tops are going to come together pretty quickly. The bottoms aren't, but the tops are, okay? That's how you can avoid damaging the trailer you're dropping and trailers on either side, okay? Just get back, and if you're like, hey, this is like a freaking Baja, four-wheel drive race course back here, then find another spot or ask for help. Ask a jockey for help. Say, hey, I don't think I can get this trailer in there without damaging something. Can you help me out? And oftentimes they will. I mean, I've never had anybody, I haven't asked a lot of times, but I have asked and people help. And the reason I know that is because when I was a jockey, I used to have drivers ask, hey, can you move this trailer out for me? Or can you lift it up because it's too low and it's loaded and I can't crank it up. Because, jockey wagon can do things you can't do. Number 12, don't be a hero. Take the easy way out. What I mean by that is this. I see people come into truck stops and they'll be like straight backs that are like anybody's grandma could do on the first try. And yet, these people will decide, oh, let me take some freaking blindside 90-degree back instead because that spot's 7 feet closer to the bathrooms. Don't be a hero. Take the easiest spot. And remember, pull-throughs aren't always the easiest spots. because you got to be lined up correctly, or you'll be looking this way and the corner of your trailer's clobbering the guy on your right. Okay, don't be a hero. If it's the easiest backing, take it. If there's like four, I honestly, I've seen guys struggle to get their trailer in between two other trucks when like 5 parking spots down, there were like 3 wide open spots. Like Ray Charles could have backed a trailer into those 3 spots and not hurt anybody. Don't be a hero. Okay, number 13, the last one. This is just an ergonomic thing. Face the truck when you get in and get out. We've all heard you gotta have 3 points of contact. Okay, I'd be lying if I said I always have 3 points of contact, because if I got a cup of coffee in one hand and a soda in the other, I set one down, open the door, and then I climb in carrying both. But I climb in facing the truck. And here's why you want to face the truck. First of all, it is safer. Like, you can get your 3 points of contact. But probably more important, it saves your knees. It is not a natural movement for your knees to go down facing out. Okay? These are not really steps. They're ladders. Okay? They're short ladders. That's the first thing. And I will tell you that if you get a heel or something, like I wear sneakers, I wear Chucks, and I wear Vans, okay? So I don't usually have any heels on a boot or any kind of thing I'm wearing. But if you get your heel caught on the edge of that step, and then but your body weight's already started down, you could tear up a knee or some muscles in your legs or something, because you're not, you're not Simone Biles, okay? I'm not, you're not. The only person it is Simone Biles. Go down and up facing the truck. I see all these guys doing it, jumping off and doing this, and I'm just like, first of all, it's just bad for your knees ergonomically, but it's just an accident waiting to happen. Because if you like I said, if you catch your heel, or you miss the bottom step, with your second foot, because you don't bring it back in towards your body far enough, it's an easy way to get hurt. So I just recommend that you don't do that. All right, I don't know if I blurred out there because instead my phone was running out of charge. Anyway, thanks for listening. I'll keep you guys updated, and be safe out there. Talk to you soon. Bye.